aliens, and scientists. Come aboard. Let's get weird right now on the Unidentified Celebrity Review. Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review, your home for credible news, reviews, and commentary on everything UFOs. I don't know if the beginning of this live stream was a little weird. I just had an echo and I had to back out and come back in. So I hope this is going smooth. We'll see. I think it is. It sounds so far so good. Before we get started with today's guest, I want to say hey to everybody in the chat. We got a lot of people joining us. Brandy Phillips, Cooperman, Alien Girl 111, Ethereal Aura, Xenoscience, Rodrigo, Michael Mataluni, which, by the way, reminds me he will be co-hosting our events on Saturday, April 24th, 2021, the Big Phone Home. We've got a lot of folks stopping by. We're going to be doing an 8-hour live stream. Ring the bell so that way you get the reminder when we start, which, by the way, will be 10 a.m. Pacific. We're going all the way to 6 p.m. Pacific. We're going to be calling reps. We're going to be talking to people. We're going to be coming together on common ground. We're going to be talking about UAPs, how to address your representatives, what to ask for, how to do it, who to call. We're going to be covering it all. So join us. Ring the bell, subscribe, and like the channel. So today's guest we have on the show is a researcher. He's a podcaster. He's been doing this for a long time. I'm just now getting familiar with his work. As everyone knows, I'm new in this Twitter, UFO Twitterverse, and people reach out to me all the time. Sometimes they provide some cool info, and this guy's doing a lot of great research on triangles and a lot of other things. So I wanted to bring him on the show, and without further ado, let's say hello to Mr. Jeremy Rys, otherwise known as Alien Size. Jeremy, is it okay if I use your real name? That's cool, right?
Yeah, that's all right.
I feel like I probably should have asked you that before we came on.
No, that's fine, man.
Yeah, how you
doing?
There's
a lot of Jeremys in ufology.
There's a lot of Jeremy ufologies. Yeah, it's a good name to have. Man. So my dude, I'm happy you're here. Glad you stopped by. Before we get into getting weird and all that stuff, turn down the gain. You want me to turn down the gain? Is the gain too high?
Oh, on your mic, I said on your mic, and now I'm just give me a second.
Take your time.
I'm closing some programs because
I can see there. You're looking at something else here.
It's lagging up. My stream's like lagging up. It just okay. Oh, there it goes. It's back now.
It's back. Okay, cool. Don't worry. Yeah, no, this is the first world problems. We run into these issues all the time with the live streams. So everything's good now.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, dude. Well, let's get into this. So Jeremy, I want to know a little bit about where you're from, where you grew up, and slowly get into how you got into this topic. But if you can get a little bit into who you are.
Well, I grew up in southeastern Mass. I lived in Boston for a couple of years. I went and moved to Colorado after high school for a year, and I lived a bunch of different places, but I'm back here in Mass, and I went back to Mass, and now I'm in Rhode Island. I've been in Rhode Island for the past 3 years, and I got into this stuff probably 2004 through a bunch of friends that I live with in Boston. My brother and some of my brother's friends, they got me reading some books on conspiracies, and Behold the Pale Horse was the first book I read by William Cooper. And I started digging down some of these rabbit holes and into some of this other stuff, and I just got fascinated by it. I read a book before that in high school by Richard Feynman called Surely You're Joking, Mr. Feynman, and that was kind of the book that made me want to study physics. Along with my dad. My dad's an engineer, and he's real scientific, and he's a chemical engineer. So wanted to do something different than chemistry or engineering. And I liked physics after reading that book by Richard Feynman. And of course, I grew up in the 90s with Bob Lazar on Unsolved Mysteries. So I used to be all like into, hell yeah, the government's got, classified programs and they're reverse engineering, alien technology potentially that dates back to right after, the Manhattan Project in World War II, when they did all this, they had 400,000 people working on this atomic bomb project and all that kind of stuff. And it's just been, I've just loved the history of all that and digging into the whole history of all that class. Is there anti-gravity research? And you start digging through and you're like, holy crap, it goes back to the 1920s with this guy Byfeld Brown, and then Tesla was doing it, after that. Then there's, in the 1940s with, Gravity Research Foundation and Roger Babson. And, then guys like Bryce Dewitt and John Archibald Wheeler, then all these government contractor programs surrounding Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, then the Lockheed Skunk Works, and a lot of interesting, overlaps, of course, the Searle generator in the, starting back in 46 and Dean Drive in the 50s, Wallace machine, and, the kinematic fields, and that's the rotating mercury drives with the rotating liquid metals. And that's all this guy, William Wallace, in 1968, lathe weight gyroscopes in 74. Then you have things like, then what happened around 73 was this thing called the Mansfield Amendment. Are you familiar with that?
No.
So we're getting political and talking about, what we need to talk to our senators and our congressmen about. The Mansfield Amendment was, it restricted research by the Department of Defense for non-military applications, including anti-gravity research. So all the anti-gravity research for the government and in the military was officially shut down in 1973 under this Mansfield Amendment. And that all the research since 1973 had to have been done through black budget. So it can't be funded. It has to be funded through private sector, which is, either private corporations, aerospace companies investing their own profits back into the top secret research, or just black budget stuff where, it's written off as, $500 toilet seats and a $6,000 hammer and stuff like that.
Right.
But that goes back to the Mansfield Amendment, which kind of, it said basically, you have to read through the literature on that, but that's just some history on it. And lots of other research that we dug through, from through the 70s and the 80s, cold fusion in the 1980s, up until Ning Lee and the AC gravity with Douglas Torr at NASA's Marshall Huntsville, and Podkletnov effect, which was that Russian rotating superconductor stuff. So there's tons of documented research into anti-gravity and technologies that I've dug up and tried to. These people are my football players, I go to the bar and people. I can't wear Patriots clothes because people start talking to me about football, and I don't know any of these names, but because my heroes are my sports here is physics, and my heroes are guys like Cloud Poher and Giovanni Modenese and Paul Murad, John Brandenburg, these guys that come on my APEC conferences every weekend, and we hold a big engineering conference. A lot of these guys are old and retired, and they worked on these programs. They're all declassified now, and they want to talk about this because they spent their life working on it in these programs, and now and they couldn't talk about it before, and now they can talk about this stuff. Right. And it kind of blows holes in a lot of theories that we've developed this technology years ago, and the government's been hiding it, and those conspiracy theories, which I entertained and followed and followed those rabbit holes down, and try and source them down until we got a lab set up to run these experiments firsthand, where I can know that we didn't overlook something and that it wasn't covered up.
Yeah, no, okay.
Kinda...
So, wow, you threw a lot of shit at me right there. That was pretty intense. Okay. So just real quick, I want to check my mic because I didn't have my mic setting correctly, because before we started the show, me and Jeremy were just talking for 20 minutes, and then we were like, oh shit, we got to start the show. So I hope the mic is coming through better. So that should be fixed. Just out of curiosity, you have brothers. How many brothers do you have?
I got an older brother, John, and yeah, I'm gonna try and get him on my podcast sometime. He's into some interesting stuff. He likes he likes all that Atlantis theory, lost continent of Mu, you know, Lemuria, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he's big into. He's got a friend that's like goes up to his friend goes up to it's a site up in New Hampshire called the American Stonehenge, believe it or not, and they go up to the American Stonehenge and they do he does like he looks around and takes like notes on stuff, and like because he's into all this mound people and all this ancient American heritage. So there's like a civilization that kind of like existed before all these like rural tribes like Wampanoag Indians and Pacoit Indians and all the different tribes, you know, Narragansett Indians down in Rhode Island, and you know, all those different tribes and stuff. Apparently way back in the day there was this ancient, you know, culture that built all these mounds, and there's a whole theory that they had giants and there was giant skeletons and, you know, all this crazy stuff, man.
Right.
Right. I don't get like down those rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And stuff. He's a computer programmer and he likes to do a lot of hiking and stuff. Yeah. And but he's into all that kind of stuff.
Right on. So when you say your dad was an engineer, right? Chemical engineer?
Yeah.
What are some of the earliest memories? Did he ever, you know, I'm fascinated to know what was it like in a household with having a dad as a chemical engineer? Was he sitting in a basement doing crazy experiments or anything like that, or was he a pretty normal dude? And you know, did he implore a scientific mind on you guys? If he did, how did he do? In what ways did he do that?
You know, he worked for a lot of. He worked for a company called Foxborough Company, which is in southeastern Mass, near where I grew up. And Foxborough Company does control systems and automation. So they build these computers that run hundreds of thousands of switches in a switch yard for petroleum refineries, manufacturing plants, you know, chemical engineering purposes, and it's control systems. So his specialization was control system optimization and construction and writing the manuals. He knows the whole control system inside out. So like basically Homer Simpson's job in The Simpsons, and like my dad built those machines so that guy Homer could run them. You know? Right.
Got it. Oh, that's awesome. So were there ever like do you have any fond memories of just your dad igniting that scientific mind in you as a kid?
I mean, he always taught me stuff, and we always had like he always had a garage, and I think it's and really important to have like teach your kids tools and trades. Yeah. And he always, that's what I actually got into after I graduated in college. I realized I could make, you know, more money going straight into the trades with my trade knowledge that I picked up and during the summer working, you know, work while in college, that I could make more money with those trade skills than I could make with as a, you know, just a bachelor's degree in physics, just with just a bachelor degree and trying to find an entry level position at some company. Yeah. You know, like low level technician is like the best job I could find. And
can I ask you what are those trade skills?
So I do tile. I do I do tile, but I've done every type of construction that there is. So I like to do custom showers and real high end tile work because people pay big money for that stuff.
No, right? They do, man. Well, I dream to be that handy. I think of myself as a kind of handy guy, but I know that there's a whole nother level of handiness, maybe even several levels of handiness. It is. You're right. It is an art form, and I think a lot of people. There's a movement by, you know, for example, this rapper Killer Mike, who's in this rap band called Run the Jewels, and he really is a big advocate for kids learning trades. Not every kid's gonna be a rapper. Not every kid is gonna be a basketball player or a doctor or a lawyer. we need tradesmen, we need plumbers, we need people who can work on tile. We like, I love and am saddened by the fact, like in New York City, there are certain things, or not even so much New York City, but would like say you go to Italy or France or something, Paris, where the stonework, nobody knows how to do that anymore. Nobody knows how to fix it. Nobody knows how to make it. It's like, it's romantic in a way, because once that's
if only
gone,
they
gone.
had YouTube back then, because we'd have a record of this.
You'd have assuming, I mean, who knows? Maybe
everyone wants to be YouTubers, but they don't want to learn those trades and those skills. But there are some YouTubers who are doing the good job of getting tracking down that knowledge, like the guys that figured out how to make Damascus steel and track down the recipe for it. And now there's all kinds of people forging Damascus steel and doing different molds, so now it started a whole new generation of trades, in a way too. So I wouldn't say that, that some old things are dead. Yeah, man. And it's a shame, like terrazzo is another thing. People mistake tile. They often see tile and they're like, oh, this is tile, but no, that's not tile. It's terrazzo. It's actually and the old school stuff was made with this nasty chemicals that like epoxies that were just like, they last forever, but you can't get those chemicals anymore because they're like banned by so many regulations and stuff to be even used in the modern trade. But they can't repair these old floors. But anyways, that's a whole other thing.
That is actually interesting. I never thought of that. Like chemical compounds that were made, hundreds of years ago, were probably not legal compounds today to just randomly own. I never thought of that. That's very
chlorobenzenes and all kinds of nasty stuff.
Let me ask you, what is your favorite? Because it is art, right? Like you said. What is your favorite piece of tile work that you look back and you said to yourself,
I went to California.
You know what, Jeremy?
Hearst Castle pool at California. Hearst Castle in California.
No shit. Yeah. You did the tile work at Hearst Castle?
No, I didn't do it. That's the best I've ever seen.
Okay, got it. I was like, wait a second. No, I'm saying you as an artist. Yeah, I want all of it. All of it. All of it is a masterpiece.
I did it in one day.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say I've been to Hearst Castle. I'm like, all right, Jeremy. Now, all right, what are we talking about here?
That's what you strive for, is that palatial level. But there's also I have not taken the tours of the mansion tours. I've been in Rhode Island 3 years. I'm going this summer. I've decided I'm going to take the mansion tours because I want to go to the Marble House because I supposedly like the best tile work down here. So I'm going to try and go there. Bring my camera, so I'll post a tour of that. That's some cool stuff. But yeah, it's certainly that was like back in the day. They had these, they flew in artisans. I mean, well, I don't know if they even had airplanes back. There was 1800s now, so they shipped them in by boat, all the best artisans in the world at the time, and had them build all these mansions and estates down at the breakers in Rhode Island here for the Vanderbilts and a bunch of other these rich families that were built like a whole rich palatial retreat. That was that was the old St. Vincent's Island before I don't know, whatever you call it. But anyway, the places that the Bohemian Grove and all those places that all the elites meet and talk about, how us little people can run our lives and what information, we should be allowed to have access to. And
the elders.
Well, they collect all our data and want to know all our secrets. We can't know theirs though.
Yeah.
Well,
that would be fair then.
Yeah, right.
That's unacceptable. So quickly, if you can, what is there any sort of work that you have done, Jeremy, that your hands have done, that you've stepped back and you said to yourself, that's pretty damn good, man. I'm pretty proud of myself, patting yourself on the back. I could put that in on a tour somewhere where people could come watch my tile work. Anything off the top of your dome that you remember?
Yeah, I got, pretty much all my jobs. I try to put my best into them. But there's been one or two that have gone, sour and just things, usually on part of the relationship with the customer, more than anything. But if I have passion for my work and I'm getting paid, and I'm making, this a reason for me to be there, and I feel like tile's attitude. It's like it's all the attitude that you have towards it, because it's like, oh, well, that's acceptable. Some of it's skill, but then some of it's attitude. It's like, oh, well, do I go back and fix this, or is that just acceptable and I'm going to go on with that? And then you kick yourself in the ass later because that's the one mistake, and that's So tiles, you're judged by the one mistake. You can't. It's not everything has to be perfect in tile. That's the problem. It's if you either do tile right or you do it wrong, and I mean there's some leeway in things, but I don't.
But nothing where you're just like, that's my best tile work right there. If I could take you to, a city in Massachusetts and go in this guy's backyard and I could show you his pool, that would be, I would love for everyone that's seen my work to judge me off that one piece. I'm an artist, so that's why I ask questions.
Trying. So I have an Olympic-sized swimming pool for a friend of mine who lives in Milton, Mass, or I think it's one of these rich towns in Boston. It's like all mansions, and he's got an Olympic-sized, like almost a 100-foot pool, and he wants it tiled like the pool at Hearst Castle. And I'm trying to get the job. I'm trying to get this job from him. It's like a whole summer job. I'm trying to nail it, but like. He's a multimillionaire, and I'm trying to nail that job, because that would be like a piece from my resume.
Man.
I've done some other. Let me think. Other than that, the most craziest one I've done. Probably these 3 bathrooms that I did. There were 5 bathrooms. In this house. These people bought like 100-acre ranch out in Sherborne, Mass, and it was this really rich family. I won't get into too many details, but they had 5 of these 12-foot ceiling showers with all glass tile, and then one of them, they wanted the epoxy sparkle grout, so it was like this epoxy with you put glitter in the grout, so it's like a plastic grout. It turns plastic, and it has glitter in it, and that was intense. So it's like they had but the 5 bathrooms, 5 showers, including one of the showers was for their dog. They had a dog shower. That's how rich these people were.
Holy shit!
So when they had the dog come out from inside, they had the double door in that room, so you could have so you could have just the door for the dog, but you could still see in and feed him treats over the thing, and then they could wash his paws off in the dog shower. And I took in the dog shower, I took a piece of white tile and I cut it like a bone, and I inlaid it inside the dog shower, so it had the tile.
That's cool.
Tile.
See, that's what I was looking for, Jerry.
All right, cool. All right,
that's what I was looking for, man. That's the nugget I wanted. Damn, it took me 20 minutes to get it out of you. All right,
sorry, man.
No, don't sweat it, dude. We got all the time in the world. So we got a cool comment here from Xenoscience. Jeremy, the Handyman channel. I'll watch it.
Hey, we got to start. We got to put eggs in as many baskets as we can, right?
This is true. And then Andy says you're only as good as the last job done. I think that's true, especially in your trade. Yes.
Well, yeah. If you don't do good work, man, you don't get callbacks. Especially, a lot of my work's through 2 or 3
referrals
contractors. 2 or 3, 2 or 3 people that refer me to all my work. And if I mess up one of those jobs for them, they're not going to call me for the next one.
Right. No, it's the same thing as an actor, man. As an actor out here in LA, dude, it's all referrals. It's all who you've worked with. It's all how professional you are. And if you show up to set one day and you act like an ass, you're probably not going to get a call from those. Definitely not that studio. And if as anyone knows, there's hundreds of people on set. So word spreads quick, dude. But wait until he starts making mosaics out of spin glass.
Hell yeah!
What is spin glass?
Well, it's a special type of glass with a super high spin coefficient. So if we could tile the surface of our spaceship with it, and then maybe make a metamaterial and warp space time with it, like some of the. So yeah, that's all stuff that's from Defense Intelligence Agency documents. I've people talk about, oh, that we got to disclose, push the government to declassify and disclose the technology. I'm like, bro, you don't even realize it's not on the news. They're not going to put it on the news, but you don't even realize what's been declassified and come out over the past 3 years.
Yeah.
You have no idea. Like all the stuff that I've been talking about for 10, 15 years, quasi-crystals and metamaterials, which I got through Ed Fouché, who talked about them in like 1998, one of the first people. And he's the guy that started that whole flying triangle story. So another
yeah. Well, no, go ahead.
A lot of people are pushing for that because there's these new videos that have come out about this, these Navy people filming this, apparently the Pentagon and the Navy are filming triangle-shaped UFOs, and then Mick West and all the skeptics think that it's just a aperture over the lens that they're picking up. Mm-hmm. And the scientists in the scientific community are completely unconvinced by this, but this is what's being put out front in the media. And I think that we have better guns than this. We should be putting better information, better stuff out there to really convince our scientists that this is real, to start this great awakening. Because the stuff that's been declassified is the stuff that when you really start digging into how deep this goes, and I think that there's rabbit hole. The rabbit holes lead somewhere. They're not just twisting around in circles. They have bottoms, and I've tried my best to track down these bottoms of who are the contractors that could still be hiding this, and how could the government keep this secret covered up, and how could FOIA's never have all the Freedom of Information Acts have never uncovered this truth, and how do we get to the truth, and where is it? Is it at Wright-Patterson in a hangar? Is it, do we have to go down there and find the Blue Room at Wright-Patterson? That would be a good place to start looking, to be talking about and talking about looking. And the other thing is that the government contractors, and it scopes out that when you start talking about the politics of this, man, it's huge, and it gets so convoluted and with the military industrial complex and how they're tied into all this, you start realizing there's big bucks at stake. There's, they're pushing this threat narrative in the whole future of space and what they're trying to do with Space Force in the future. It's big money. It's going to be big money to push all the, I talked to a guy from the Navy I actually did a tile job for, and he's I think a lieutenant or something. And, so I just was like, what's your opinion on all this on Space Force? What do you think? This was back right after Trump created Space Force, and so I would ask him about the UAP task force and all this stuff if it was more in the news. I think that's a good thing that this stuff's out in the news, because at least gives you a breaking point to start a conversation with people about stuff.
Well, I can tell you this, just to cut you off real quick. My mother sent me the video of the triangle, pyramid, whatever. And my sister. So, it's, whether, because I know, look, the folks in this field really want better stuff than that. We know it exists, right? Yeah, so we get upset when it's not good enough, right? And my counter argument to that is, it may not be good enough for us, but it's good enough for my mom to start paying attention. And that's a good thing, because when you could start getting the soccer mom or the old lady that really has nothing to do with this going, wait a second, what the hell's going on? That's a good thing, right? I mean, that gets the conversation going on a much bigger scale, which is what we need.
There's also the conversation that's going on in the scientific community. I don't know if you noticed, Fermi Labs just released a video today on talking about anti-gravity. They released like a 9-minute video with where they mentioned Eugene Podkletnov, but there's a couple things about that video which, like, he actually said a whole bunch of stuff that were like, he didn't say any names, but he talked about popular ufology cases that have physics involved in them, and he said this idea of element 115 being responsible, and he said it's complete nonsense, and that I agree with. But then he said something about the Podkletnov experiment, and that there's no evidence that rotating superconductors create any sort of anti-gravity effect. And I thought that was rather naive, because if he did the real research into the Podkletnov experiment and knows about that, then he know it wasn't just a rotating superconductor. Yeah, it shows that in many of the diagrams, but that's not like, there's key details that are missing from that, like the bilayer disk and then the frequency that this thing has to be hit with. So there's a bilayer and a frequency that has to be hit with, and those are the key things they're missing from like, there were key technical details that were purposely taken out for defense purposes, but we've tracked this stuff down through like researching the physics. So it's like, you don't, to a certain extent with the physics, is like there's no classification, there's no hiding it. If I can do this math and I can show other physicists the math and show them like the science, there's no real amount of classification it can hide behind. The only way they can do that is sort of like give them a obscured or false understanding of what the science is, so that they don't look into, they think they have a superficial understanding of what the science is, completely reject it and don't look into it really further and don't investigate it and really understand what's going on. Because if he did, he realized that, what could be going on inside the bilayer of the superconductor disk is the production of antimatter, which he admits that CERN, is doing experiments into, and guys like, there's a Daniel M. Kaplan, PhD, who's doing experiments into whether antimatter falls up or down. So this is what he said. This is real physics, is whether antimatter falls up or down. Right. But this is not real physics because it's rotating superconductors. But I'm missing the key details because I didn't really investigate it. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to bring to the public. But it's hard, because it's like, how do you get people to pay attention to technical jargon and details and stuff?
It's hard. I can tell you, it's not easy. Yeah, no, it's not easy. I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm like, fuck, dude. Well, okay, wait a second. What's the math? Like, what's the math that correlates to what you're saying?
There's tons of papers on this, and so that's what I did. I've done tons of research on this stuff over the years, trying to dig into the physics and the real programs. And you can only hide so much in the classification, because it has to be published somewhere in the academic literature. If it's real physics, and it's obscure and hard to find unless you know what to look for and find it. And sometimes they change the terminology too, so to obscure the research further. But you can usually tell through citations and stuff like that, and knowing the names of these researchers and following them, like most people follow professional football players.
Well, can I ask you, I want to get to Rodrigo's question, but we're on a really cool topic right now. Based off of the research that you've looked at, what do you think is happening from a physics standpoint?
So I think that there's a lot of technologies that people don't know about, and there's a lot of physics that is emerging that also, like this guy Fermilab said, he's looking for physics beyond the standard model and things that would prove new physics. But that's not entirely true, because some of the scientific community shunned cold fusion research for 30 years, but then last year in December, NASA just came out with more evidence that cold fusion is real. So you want this evidence and you're looking for it, but at the same time it disagrees with your models, so you're rejecting it. You've been rejecting it for 40 years now. It's time to come to terms with this, and it's time to explore these things, because I know they lead to new technology. I know there's a lot of classification around this stuff, because the people who worked on it seem to all get bought up, or weird things happen to them when they work on this kind of stuff. And there's all kinds of stories like that. So this is core ufology. I believe this is the nuts and bolts of it. And it's a good thing to get people interested in, videos, but in a debriefing task force with the Senate, the Senate sits down and has this intelligence committee, and all our senators are sitting down in that room. I really highly doubt they're spending their entire time watching videos of UFOs the entire time. They're talking business. They're talking, well, what's this going to do for money for my state? What are we in that? What's in it for me?
Right.
What's in it for my people? What's in it for my constituents in Rhode Island and here in Rhode Island? And what's in it for us in declassification of this stuff is that we can, for defense purposes, one, we're quickly falling behind as a world superpower if we can't keep up with this technology. And I'll tell you what, I guarantee you there's other people already on this stuff, because half the papers that I cite, the deep research that's going on in this are Chinese papers. They're written by Chinese scientists. The Chinese are ahead of us, and we're falling behind. And the reason we're falling behind is because it's been such a hush-hush topic for way too long. It should have been declassified, a decade ago, but they've been kept in hush-hush because they're so damn scared within the National Security Agency and administration of what this tech can do that they don't want to tell anybody about it. But meanwhile, our adversaries across the seas are developing it.
Well, let me ask you this. Hold on, before you go on. The Chinese are developing this. So, but in the Chinese zeitgeist or publications, they're not having an open discussion about UFOs, right?
No, this is the technology side, and really all the world's scientists, they meet at colloquiums. So Chinese scientists come here. We communicate like in the scientific community. We don't view there's like no borders and stuff.
Yeah.
There's not a war. There's no wars going on. So they're just sharing, the pursuit of science and understanding and physics.
So, but what from a physics standpoint, if you could just explain it for an idiot like me,
manufacturing. So the manufacturing is the real issue, because we pushed all our manufacturing of our electronics overseas to China because it was cheaper for so many years. And we now have none of that infrastructure here, and most of our manufacturing industry and infrastructure has gone overseas. They don't even teach shop in high school anymore. So it's really a shame that and they're starting to realize this more and more, that like we screwed ourselves, and we need to fix the situation, or it's just going to backfire on us in a couple of years, because all our semiconductors are built in China. All our computer chips are built in China. The NSA just had a major hack, and they talked about this in document. There's been inside, if you pay attention to like their meetings and the stuff that they talk about at their, because they have videos of some of their conferences and stuff. You can go look and and hear what they're talking about. They're talking about Chinese hiding secret hack chips on all these boards, and with these call home functions. So any of these Chinese devices which are plugged into an internet connection will call home and start sending information to the Chinese servers through the internet. Yeah. And they were in the hike vision cameras for a while. That came back. All the hike vision cameras that were in all hospitals and all police stations and everything in the U.S. had to be recalled and taken out. It was a big thing. Not a lot of people know about it.
Okay.
But it's important for our states and for our future, for senators to be aware of all these issues, because we need to strengthen our economy. We need to strengthen, and this technology would give a huge boost to our economy. We can't just bow to the will of the oil companies and these private interests, because they want control and to make more money off the energy. If we have free energy and technologies or anti-gravity technologies, those need to be. Those could be utilized for commercial purposes, and we could.
Well, here's my. And I'm just playing devil's advocate too. I think what you're saying is that our government has some form of anti-gravity technology, and they've cracked some sort of physics that has allowed them to produce either a vehicle or something that no longer has to obey the laws of gravity, essentially.
The 0 point energy, like Casimir effect, it's done with metamaterials, and it creates what's called like a white hole, like the analog of a black hole, where information's sucked in irretrievable. This sort of information goes into a loop, and you can extend that information linearly, and then drop it off somewhere else and close the loop. So you can pull your spaceship literally through the fabric of space-time using these metamaterials, which create this white hole surface on the surface of the craft. And that's the level it's at. It's not just shooting microwaves and creating these supersonic effects. A lot of that stuff was a precursor, like the light all the stuff that's coming out on Drive and stuff. And I want to talk to those guys too and see what they can dig up and find on this, because I know Bernard Hayes was a Caltech physicist that worked at Caltech, and he was commissioned by Lockheed Martin to do a lot of research into the theoretical physics behind this. And
well, I could tell. Okay, Jeremy, I could tell you're just bursting at the seams with information, dude. That you're not fucking around. Like, you've done a lot of reading, you've done a lot of looking into this, and here's the thing with a technology like that, because that is mind blowing. That's crazy for, I think, for me, and I understand the tech that you just spit out there, but I mean, to explain that, to just say, I always use my mother just because she'd never get that, right? My
want to know how they go interstellar. How do they get here? And
no. It's a great question.
This answers those questions.
They're great questions, and I think they're also good theories. And I would love to see the physics behind it. But beyond that, let's just say, for argument's sake, that's a fact that does exist.
These are the rumors. These are the rumors.
No, these are the rumors. But let's just say, for a fact, let's just say it does exist, right? And it's a brand new thing that we figured out. My whole thing is that I think, even without technology that exotic, which is an exotic technology, we have technology right now that we can perfect, and it's clean, it's free, and it would change the American economy tremendously, and that's nuclear. And we don't pursue nuclear because of the stigma that comes with it. So it would just be, for me, just as a realist, if that tech does exist, we can't spoon feed people nuclear technology. How are you going to convince the American people, or the world for that matter, that switching to this crazy exotic tech is I'm just saying, is how are you going to explain to people that it's safer than nuclear? You know what I mean? Like, if we can't get them to trust that technology, how in the hell are you going to get them to trust something that can tap into the fabric of space and time? And you're talking about going, oh, well, with this dial, I could go 400 years back. It'll drop me off here, and then this will close, and I'm here. Like, that's insane. And you're right.
It's not like a time machine, but
no,
it's
not. But I'm saying, okay, instead of time, let's just say planets. Okay, just put time for planets. It explains how they can get from there to here very nicely. I'm not disagreeing with you there. I'm just saying, like, to release that technology onto the masses, I don't think is responsible. Number one, you really would have to test that technology, that sort of physics would have to be in textbooks. It would have to be taught at universities, high schools. You're talking about a whole revolution of everything.
It's already taught at high school. It's just a buildup of the physics that we have. If you look at it, it's not like anything crazy or new. A lot of these theorists already had these ideas back in the 20s at the birth of quantum mechanics. One of the physicists at the Solvay conference, which laid down the quantum mechanics, the birth of quantum mechanics at the Solvay conference, was a guy named Steinmetz, and he's got all kinds of theories that were just lost and forgotten about, and then people are rediscovering this stuff, and they're like, no, Steinmetz figured this out in 100 years ago, 90 years ago, in the 1920s.
But let me ask you, do you think they've developed this tech?
I think that there's a lot of money that's gone into this that we don't know about. It's gone on for quite a while.
Do you think they've succeeded?
I've done, the research that I've done, I think that I don't think they've succeeded in reproducing it fully ourselves. But I really question whether or not we've found some artifacts or got something that we haven't told the public about that we've tested and figured out. I'll tell you that.
Say that one more time.
So I think that I think that the government, I've found cases where they have metals and they've recovered metals from UFOs. Like these UFOs, they take this, they apparently poop out metal. It's a phenomenon that happens.
Yeah.
And they go and it's a case in 1952 in Denmark, and they went and picked up this piece of metal and they, brought it back. So there's cases like that on file in the CIA, in the CIA archive. And so know that they had programs and they've picked up some things. And then you have that metal that they talked about before that they kind of brought out, and then they talked about hitting it with terahertz, but they kind of made silly. They kind of made fun of it. I don't know what was going on with that. And it was that like a little leak. Was that because I've looked into all that stuff and I found a ton of, physics related to that,
Yeah.
about, what the effect is, what's produced in these terahertz metamaterials. And it's interesting physics, and there's certainly a lot of defense, hoodoo going on around it. As I tracked down that one guy that got arrested and charged for the 1,000 documents at Wright-Patterson. I won't mention his name here, but I did a story on that. You guys can go check it out if you want.
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about. Why won't you mention his name though?
I'll mention his name. His name is Isaac Kemp. It's with a Z and Kemp. And that case I found about through WHIO. But he was he was working at the terahertz ultrafast photonics lab at Wright State University, and he got charged with smuggling 1,000. 1,000, it said in the news report, classified documents. So he was obviously doing classified research at the terahertz photonics lab. So what's classified about it? Because there's the news story, and the Air Force OSI from Wright-Patterson was there to retrieve the documents. So we know a lot about this technology. We know real data about the physics and the scientists that are working on it. And
so is it safe to say that we haven't created or produced this technology, but maybe we're close?
I don't know how close we are, man. I don't know. I really can't say, but because in the public sphere, we're not, I don't think we're that close.
Yeah.
But in the private spheres and some of these other places, I think, we might be close. The closest in the public sphere is at University of Rochester. They're doing experiments with polariton condensates, and there's a lot of research into how to produce negative mass with polariton condensates. So the polariton is basically like pulling antiparticles out of the vacuum by energizing, getting really high vacuum energy densities so that you can pull antiparticle pairs out of the vacuum. So that way you can create antimatter antimatter pairs. So it's ways to create antimatter, and which is you can create negative mass through that's the whole does antimatter fall up or down debate. Back to that whole.
Okay, so then let me ask you this, man. You're laying down a lot of stuff here, and I got to tell you, I'm enjoying the hell out of it. Wow. What would be if you can go to either a private entity or to some sort of publicly secret lab, whether it be run by the government, or you could go say to a Lockheed Martin. If you could ask Patel, let's say Patel, great example. If you could go to Patel and you could ask to look at one thing, what would it be? To give you access to, I'd like access to this.
I think that if there's a vault with some alien artifacts in it, it's got to be either somewhere at Battelle or someone at Battelle knows where it is. And I want to see that vault. I want to see that vault with things that we recovered from space that we couldn't identify. And because they were so alien, they went to a special place where the public couldn't be shown them. If that
do you think those things extend beyond metals, or do you think there is flesh with that as well?
Well, that's according to the Roswell legend. There was a lot of people that reported bodies with that were recovered and that were, preserved and brought to, the Wright-Patterson and then brought to that hangar at Roswell Army Airfield. Of course, the crash didn't happen at Roswell. Everyone calls it the Roswell crash. The crash happened about 45 miles northwest at a ranch in Corona, New Mexico. But apparently there were 4 bodies, according to the legend, and they went somewhere. If they're still around, and I wonder if they're extraterrestrial biological entities. According to some of the theories that I've heard, is that this craft was like a self-replicating automata, that it was trying to put itself back together when they found it. That was one story I heard that was kind of crazy. So
that's pretty well.
And then John von Neumann, one of the physicists from the Manhattan Project, who some legends put at the Roswell scene as being one of the scientists they brought in to kind of analyze what they had. A month in October after Roswell, he wrote a paper on self-replicating space probes. You know, basically like the idea of advanced alien ships that were self-replicating, that could, you know, build copies of themselves and just explore the universe. And
I mean, can you imagine being able to somehow replicate, say, I don't know, a human cell, but you just amplify it times 1,000 and make it the size of a car? And if you crash it, it could just replicate itself into a new car.
Just imagine these things taking over the entire universe. There's a whole mini documentary about it called what's that channel? There's a channel called Mysticism. Mystic. They have a thing called the Cube from. I posted this on Twitter. The thing from the Cube from space or whatever. Or was it I'll find it on Twitter. I posted it earlier.
Yeah,
but
no worries.
It's this whole idea. That same idea is like that. Whatever we're doing, we're eventually going to create an AI. Yeah. And the AI, once we create an artificial intelligence like this, it's going to create an artificial super intelligence. It's going to figure out how to create an artificial super intelligence, and then once that super intelligence is created, it's going to create a machine that's going to instantly warp itself to every point in the universe and start taking over the entire known universe, and until there's nothing left but this super intelligence that we've created. And that's like that's like, whoa, man.
Yeah. That's wild to think about. That is insane. Okay, well, let's change gears here a bit because this was a cool question from Rodrigo. Having experienced in the construction field, what's Jeremy's opinion on Peru's polygonal architecture?
So this is I'm not really super familiar with
okay, well, that's okay.
Polygonal architecture. So the those stones from in Peru, those
that fit really nicely together.
Yeah. You know, apparently they took some of these apart and they fit together really nicely at those seams, but they're not perfectly like molded smooth shut. So there is some evidence that these things were just taken out and just try, you know, like a little bit at a time to like really perfect it. You know, you just you could do this. It would be really time consuming and stuff, and it would be a lot of work. But I mean, you could build walls like that, and you know, back then people had a lot of time. They had nothing but time, and they probably even had like slaves. You know, they probably even used slave labor and stuff. Sad is to say that. You know, there's probably. You know, I don't know.
I think it's safe to say that almost every ancient structure of any significance was probably built by hands of slaves.
That's it, man. And then we're modern day slaves today.
Yeah.
So we live in nicer houses and have some better technology.
Yeah, it's a little more comfortable. Air conditioning is way better than sleeping outside.
And running water. Oh,
running water is also a lot of fun. Dude, I mean... Yeah,
we all felt that shortage.
Well, you want to know something? I didn't feel that shortage. I've got like that portable bidet, man.
Yeah,
that thing is game changer. Absolute game changer. Okay. So let's because man, you laid out a lot of stuff there. You did earlier on talk about, and we're gonna carefully walk around this because we talked about this earlier before we went on. You did talk about being inspired by Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
I know you have, you know, your opinions on the Lazar story, and I've got some, and I share some of your opinions and some I don't. You know, there's not going to be
information and inside group on that story. I've done real boots on the ground research.
I know you have. I know you have.
I'm not just some armchair guy, you know.
No, I know this. I know this. But what I wanted to focus on, right, was the things that you know, like I said in the pre-show, the things that we could take away from it that we can, as almost like a torch, pick up and run with. You know, like the fact that he inspired you to, like, if Bob Lazar doesn't exist, is Jeremy Rys sitting in front of me today?
Yeah, I don't know because
Yeah,
it's hard to say because
it's hard to say.
don't know if I would have dug so deep into alien metals and alien research and the physics as I
Yeah,
did if it wasn't for Bob Lazar. But like it was for me, it was just like I'm a hungry dude. So when I got
right.
to I went in there and I dug up everything I could find on element 115, and I'm like,
Yeah,
this is it. There's got to be more. Like there's got to be more anti-gravity stuff than this. Like
yeah.
there's no way. And I was right.
Yeah. Well, but there is more anti-gravity stuff, is what you're saying.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a ton
a
more
lot more.
anti-gravity stuff, but if that's what it takes is Bob Lazar to get people to start looking into this, then that's a good thing. But
Yeah,
I just worry. But when I saw that Fermilab video, because it's like this guy looked into Bob Lazar and he's like, well, this is all there is to this UFO anti-gravity stuff,
right.
But like, meanwhile, I'm out here, bro. I'm like, no, bro, like, please,
Yeah.
like, I'm trying, like, pay attention, like,
Yeah.
but I'm losing. I feel like I'm losing both audiences. The scientific audience is losing me because they're like, "Oh, this is just some more Bob Lazar, element 115 stuff. This guy's into anti-gravity and UFOs and aliens. He's the alien scientist. Who's going to take that guy seriously?"
Right.
And then meanwhile on the other side, you have the UFO people like, "Oh, this guy's a shill. He's a debunker. This guy's probably works for the government." Like,
right.
No,
I look, man, I know the fine, I know the fine line you're walking, man, because like, yeah, it's you do, like, I think messaging is everything, and how you message things is important, because if you come across as the guy who's angry and yelling all the time, I don't think your message gets lost, right? Like, it's just tough to listen to anybody when they're in that state. So that's why I wanted to focus on the things that inspire us about the story, the things that we could say, shit, man, if it wasn't for this, like, I know for me, if Bob Lazar doesn't exist, that story doesn't exist, I don't know if I have a channel talking about this stuff, like that was a huge pivotal moment for me, as I think that came out in 1989. So I was 9 years old when that came out, like, that story was massive. That was before internet. That was before, the world was infinitely smaller than it is, or infinitely bigger than it is today. It's just a lot harder to get in touch with people. I remember having to dial an area code for somebody that lived outside of your neighborhood, like you when you use the telephone, shit like that. And that story changed my world. Absolutely changed my world, and it got me to start writing, doing science projects and talking about this at school, and of course getting terrible grades because, and being mocked at, oh, this isn't science. I'm like, well, how dare you say it's not science? Like, this is the biggest scientific question that humanity can ask. And it was all because of that crazy fucking story, man. Yeah. Right? So
that crazy guy with the glasses.
Yeah, man. And I could tell you,
that's what the best Bob Lazar is. He drops like a little bit of real science, right?
Yeah.
So he did like a whole review and talked about a little bit of science, and then he just drops it off a cliff with just some, like, oh, and by the way, there was little aliens, and I saw one when I looked through the window there. And it's right. And you're like, oh yeah, definitely. I don't know.
Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing.
It's where do we get we are we going to petition our Congress and our Senate to like look into S4 and was there ever a base there, and we can only get so far with that.
We can only get so far. But I mean, the last thing I'll say about him is the one thing that I kind of look at and I go, damn, well, fuck, dude. Like, there's a lot, like Commander David Fravor. Joe Rogan's entire opinion about UFOs was changed because of this Bob Lazar story. Like, we didn't have I love the fact that Joe Rogan is now actually taking this topic seriously, and it's because of that Bob Lazar story, whether we admit it or not, whether we like to admit it or not. I mean, it's
weird because the Joe Rogan questions everything. He was so like skeptical of this stuff.
Skeptical,
and he I don't know, it's just but then when I don't know why he changed his tune on Bob Lazar, and we had some inside conspiracy theories about that. He got bought out by Spotify.
No, I think it's partly because of David Fravor's story. you know, and because David Fravor has such an incredible, like, look,
he's a Top Gun, you know, like Top Gun
he's a
pilot.
Top Gun pilot.
You can't get much better.
And he was in the studio with Rogan. And when you're in that setting, I think information, especially when you're saying information that Fravor was spitting, you have to respect it. It carries a lot more weight when it's coming out of a Top Gun's mouth. And then that Top Gun is telling him, you got to talk to Bob Lazar. Like, and it's like, holy shit, you know, like, for whatever reason, the most credible people that are talking about this topic seem to really enjoy talking to Bob Lazar. Now, whether you believe his story, whether you don't, I mean, dude, we can go on for years probably.
It's Ed. I go back and forth on Ed Fouché, who I knew personally. I talked to Ed Fouché I would talk to him till like 2 a.m, like every night for a while, you know, and you know, I knew this guy, and I still go back and forth on his story, and you know, like, you know, and little details of the case. So I see that totally.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you know, it's you know, sometimes we don't get to pick the person who gets to sort of speak for everyone, if that makes sense. You know, like it's sometimes we don't, unfortunately, we don't have a lobbyist in the UFO community that says, you know what, I think everyone should pay attention to this because this is the best information and data you can get in the field. You know, there's no arbiter, and people are gonna go to where they're gonna go. And Bob Lazar is a sexy story, man. It's a fun story. It's fun to listen to. It's fun to think about. It inspires, whether you like it or not. It does inspire, and it also brings attention to the topic. So that's where. You know,
and the best part about it is that it doesn't threaten anything like real, because it doesn't lead anywhere. It's all made up. It's all make believe, but it still gets you thinking. That's fine. But I think that's why they allow it in the news, because I really feel Operation Mockingbird was serious, and what they did, and you know, what the CIA did in the 50s and 60s to set up a control over what the Dulles brothers wanted to have. They were obsessed with just controlling everything that the public knew and thought about and talked about. They were obsessed with just mind control and keeping people in this, you know, altered version of reality. They were obsessed with how they controlled their information. It was, you know, the whole origin of these organizations, and Operation Mockingbird is real. They've been involved in a lot of, you know, history of setting up things. So I know that what's in the mainstream media is a controlled narrative. I just know that. I just know that because I've done the research and I've been in this long enough to know that whatever is being put out there in the mainstream media is a controlled narrative, and we have to break through that. We have to, you know, realize that this is making it out there for a reason. And yeah, it's great that people are finally talking about it for now, but we need to change the conversation to more credible things if we want real disclosure. Otherwise, we're just going to keep getting, you know, more nonsense from, you know, it's really what do you think is going to happen with this UAPT task force? I'm pretty sure that this push for disclosure and getting the truth from the government's never going to end, and that, you know,
listen, man, this is going to be an uphill battle until we're dead. That's for sure. But I do think that it's heading in the right direction. I could see the political winds changing, and I always compare it to the medical marijuana movement. We're in the very early stages of that same sort of political change. And I think in 20 years, this is going to be a lot more interesting, a lot more open, and a lot more scientific based discussions. I think the things that you brought up today, especially, are going to be the things that people are talking about, because people are going to want to dive into the physics. because that's where it's going to get really interesting when we can get the physics.
When we
on
get
this
Neil
stuff.
deGrasse Tyson, tweeting about warp drives and being like, "Oh my God, they really did research anti-gravity," so that he can get his audience of 13-year-old budding scientists to start because those are the kids that are going to build us this crap.
Right.
All right.
Well, look, dude. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's happening. Look at Lex Fridman. Look at Michio Kaku. Look at Avi Loeb. Look at Haim Mashed. Look at Senator Marco Rubio. Like these are not idiots. And whether you agree with them or don't agree with them, these are smart people. And even Neil deGrasse Tyson has, in some cases, sort of not taken. He's taken his foot off the gas just a little bit. I don't think he was as absolute as he was 10 years ago.
Hey,
and I'm
Eric
a huge
Weinstein
Neil deGrasse
today,
Tyson fan.
Yeah, I'm too. Just today on Twitter, Eric Weinstein tweeted that he said, "I've finally I've avoided the UFO topic for years because of the stigma associated with it. But with the recent, admissions by the Pentagon and all these top level academic and high level officials and stuff, I can no longer ignore it." And I was like,
"Yes, hey, man, that's awesome.
Yes,
that's awesome.
More academics and more scientists.
Yes,
that's what we need." Avi Loeb, from Harvard.
Yeah, no, that's what I said, dude. I think this discussion is, and a lot of people use this terminology, the you're not going to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Like, this is open. And this conversation is only going forward. And here's the thing that I really love is because the Navy has changed their guidelines on how to report these things, especially when it comes to our pilots, they're talking about it. Like, they're talking about it. Look what's going on with the USS Kidd. Now, this could turn out to be a whole bunch of drones, but if it's not, that is a big time story. And it's being confirmed right now by the Pentagon and all of these officials. We don't know exactly what they are. We don't have enough data, but we know that they're confirming these incursions are happening. Like, and pilots are being more open about it. Like, they're filming shit on their phones. They're talking about it to their buddies and in forums. Like, this is out of control now. This has gotten to a point where they either A, have to address it, or B, they're just going to dig their heels in and keep lying about it. And I can tell you, that's not the play. It's just not the play. And when you start looking,
I think the play also is like there's a lot of disinformation being spread too, though. They're going to put stuff out there that's not going to lead, so part of the play might be to get all this attention to it and then put a straw man out there, beat the crap out of the straw man and say, look, he's dead. Now we don't have to look at this anymore. And maybe they're trying to pump something up to plunge us further into a dark.
But here's the thing, Jeremy, is that's why guys like you and me need to be incredibly vigilant on all the new data that's put on the table. And, when it comes to anybody giving me video, pictures, a story, anything, I'm always going to take it and I'm going to say to myself, okay, is this something I'm going to put on the table and yell to everybody about, like that there's a wolf at my door? Or am I going to wait until the real wolf is there and then start yelling wolf? You know what I mean? Like, let's take the data. I say all data is good data. If it's coming from the Pentagon, if it's coming from the Navy, if it's coming from the USS Kidd, we got radar, we got all that shit. Great. Awesome. Yeah. Just keep giving it to us, but manage your expectations. That's all I will tell everybody. No matter how crazy the story, we need to manage our expectations. We need to take it as calmly as we possibly can. Like, I would love for the day where we get a Nimitz type footage, those 3 videos, the Nimitz, the Go Fast, and the gimbal. Imagine if the New York Times said to the government, nah, that's not good enough. We're not publishing it. We need more. We need more. Now that puts the government in a position of, oh, okay, this isn't good enough. Like, this isn't that we're going to have to provide them more. And I think that's going to be the next step is the information that's leaked, the stuff that comes out. I think it's going to get to a point where whoever gets that information as a journalist or as a news entity, they're going to have to say to themselves, is this good enough? Is this going to convince the average reader that they should be paying attention to it? And if the answer is no, I say the response to the government could be, listen, we're very interested, but we just need more. And I think you'd be shocked, one of the biggest lessons I've ever learned in my life was, don't be afraid to ask. You will be shocked at how many people will go out of their way to help you. For example, I asked Lou Elizondo to come onto my stupid, big phone home and help me, convince people to call Congress and ask for more data on UAPs. And he was like, yeah. And it blew my mind.
Wow. That's
it blew my mind, right? Like
you've been able to get some good guests, man. That's why I wanted
you never know until you ask. And that's the whole point of the big phone home, is that we've never, Jeremy Rys, Bob Lazar.
I never called at my senator's office before, but I called him up the other day when we did this.
There
and
you go, man.
I'm gonna keep calling him, and I'm gonna do it on air too.
And I'm so damn happy that you are, dude. I'm glad that I inspired you or helped inspire you. I'm glad that we're having this conversation, and all of these people in the chat are hearing this, and they're just saying to themselves, well, shit, I like Jeremy. I think his work is great, and if he's gonna call a senator, well, shit, why shouldn't I? And you should.
When I saw you doing this, is like I wanted to start something like this, but I've already made too many enemies in ufology. I already have tons of trolls that go out there and spread disinformation about me and everything else. And I wanted to thank you for putting this together, because you really are the man. Because someone else needed to do it, and someone who there's no stigma against and doesn't have like that troll following and stuff. So like it really had to be somebody else. And when I saw that you were doing this and setting that up, and I was like, this is awesome. And I want to be part of this and use it. And that has actually inspired me to put all my life's work of UFO research together into that UAP Senate briefing report that I put together. It was like a 1 hour, 50-minute, a whole thing about that. And I put it together, and I posted that online just because of you and what you and you inspired me to do that. So
yeah, dude. Well, hey man, I genuinely appreciate it. I'm glad that you've come on the show. I'm glad we got to talk about our, I don't even say differences. I didn't find a lot of differences in ideas, and that's the beautiful thing about conversations like this, because you do have that stigma. You said it yourself. And when I started talking to you or interacting with you on Twitter, I would have people reach out to me privately, and they'd say, hey man, be careful, Jeremy. He's this, and that, or he's that, and this. And I'm
friendly with everyone.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell everybody out there, I don't give a shit. I'm going to reserve my judgment of another human being after I've spoken to them, after I've interacted with them, and after I've had a conversation with them. And as of right now, dude, there's nothing offensive that you've laid on the table. I know you're passionate about a lot of things. I know you've researched the hell out of a ton of things. And honestly, we could probably talk for 6 hours. And what I really want to do before you come on next time is I want to write down a list of topics, because I want to talk about we're going to do that before we go. But for example, triangle crafts, and sort of where they came from and the history behind them and the tech that might be going into them. You have a lot of information on that. So I want to dive a little bit into that before we end the show. But I just want to say thank you, man. I think what you're doing is great. And I think going forward, I hope people get a different perspective of who you are. You're a human being. You have a real job. You lay tile. You're an artisan. There are very vulnerable, very personable, very relatable things about you. And I hope that's what people take away from this conversation. A lot of us, especially if we disagree with each other, it's very, very easy to get lost in the translation of Twitter. Where in the Twitterverse, we tend to talk past each other. And what I'm trying to do here is talk to each other. I don't care what the theory is or what the idea is. We can find common ground, and we have. And the fact that you're calling your senators, you're inspiring your following and your fans, dude, that's good on you. And I can't wait to have you on Saturday. We're going to have a fun discussion. We're going to keep it light, keep it cool, and we're going to have a good time. And hopefully at the end of this, we've inspired a couple thousand people to call and hopefully move the ball.
Give them some good information and ammunition as far as the names I've dropped and the physicists. If you throw these things at your senators and be like, look, this is real science. This could help us all. This could help the economy. You really need to look into this and get this stuff disclosed and declassified, because it's time. And just even if you just call them and tell them, look, I'm ready for the truth. I'm ready. If there's aliens, and just tell us, and keep us updated on the situation. There's it's just this whole idea that there's this one elite group of society that's all better than all of us for whatever reason, and that they can keep all the information and they can control all the information and not give us any of it. But meanwhile, they're hacking into our cell phones and following everything that we do and digging into every little bit of our past, even if it's 20, 30 years old, to be like, look, I got something I can hold against this guy. Hey, everyone look at this and don't pay attention to what he's talking to. So
it's real easy to judge someone's entire life based off of one tweet. It's insane, but that's what happens. I'm trying to avoid shit like that. I don't want to be judging people based off of one tweet. You never know what state of mind that person was in when they sent a tweet.
It could be a 2 a.m. drunken tweet, and I've had a lot of those. And and every once in a while, I have to go through Twitter. I'm an asshole, man. When you piss me off, and I'm a fighter, man. I don't back down to anybody. That's another thing is people start all kinds of fights with me, and you take it to 10, man. I'm gonna take it to 11. I'm sorry, that's how I am. So
right. No, I hear you, man. And
then people when I take it to 11, they're like, look at this guy, man. He's crazy. He's crazy. Yeah,
right.
Everyone's crazy if
you know that's the ammunition that they're using against you. Don't give them the ammunition. Don't go to 11, and then they won't have anything to point at. You know what I mean? But that's hard to do. That's self-control. And look, I've had those problems myself. Okay, I've had those faults myself. We're all human. We're all going to go there. It's just whether or not we can recognize when we go there and say, shit, I'm sorry, I went there. My bad. But I apologize. Let's get back on track. I think it does wonders for anyone. But to go based on what you're saying before, don't mean to cut you off, is that this issue, this UAP issue, is a way. Especially if you're calling and you're talking to a senator, this is a great way to build more trust between the average citizen and our government. Because you're right, they are spying on us. They are listening to our phones. There's a lot of reason, and there's a lot of distrust between the average American citizen and our government officials. And I think this topic is the perfect one to build trust. Because if they give us information, if they give us data, if they honor the requests that we're asking for, that will go a long way into changing the opinion of the relationship between government and its citizens. Am I wrong?
Yeah, you're right. And also I view it as a way for researchers like me who have this massive amount of information to use this as an opportunity to get people to start, looking into it and realizing it and waking up to that. So that's sort of where I'm at with all this. I just want the information out there. I think, a lot of stuff's been declassified already and people just aren't aware of it. It's not getting the attention that it deserves because a lot of it's, boring and super technical sometimes. And it's just a little too much for some people, I guess, And maybe our senators feel the same way. They're busy guys and they got a lot of other stuff on their plate and their agenda. And this is just one part of this COVID bill. Really, that's what the whole UAPTF is just a small section of the COVID bill. And Yeah, I put a whole database together with briefing documents, and that, like, I made one public, but we have an even deeper one with available to people who need it and who prove worthy. And we have some of the best people coming forward, out there on this, and I want to bring more of that to the attention of the public.
Yeah,
really.
Well, dude, I'm glad that we found some common ground today. I'm glad that we can agree on some things, and some of the information you shared was just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun to listen to. It didn't sound angry. I don't, I don't know you to be a crazy angry person or but then again, I'm not insanely familiar with your work. I'm just learning about you, but I'm glad you're here, dude. I'm glad that we got to see this side of you for sure.
And we all have our faults and stuff.
Yes,
and part of this,
all human.
Part of this experience is like growing in yourself as a person, and realizing that, because everyone can change, and everyone can make that decision to listen to the demon on one shoulder or the angel that's telling you constructive or destructive.
Right.
And we all sometimes fall to our emotions and start listening to that destructive demon.
Yeah.
And we destroy relationships and burn bridges and stuff. And I'm sure we've all done that in our past.
Yes. All of us. And, but the important thing is to, listen to, sometimes you got to just bite your tongue and just look the other way, or put your head down, because are you really going to let some blabbering, foolish buffoon who's attracting the attention of the whole crowd running down the street, blah, 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 are you going to pick your head up from your work to pay attention to that nonsense? Yeah.
No, it's like a dog's barking at you. Dude. Go lie down, boy. That's all. Just keep your head down and keep your stay in your lane and focus on your own work. And if it's important to you and you're doing good research, you can share that with, and people that will shine louder than any, in the long run, people are going to remember the brick wall that you kept your head down and were building that brick tile wall and that walkway. That's what's going to be there in 100 years. And that buffoon that was yelling down the street that had everyone's attention for that brief moment in time, he's long gone. No one remembers his name.
Yeah.
So
I had to pick out this comment because I thought it was funny. Is this a furry channel, or does Luis happen to look like a cuddly panda today? Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair comment. I think I do look like a cuddly panda. And if you want to come hug, man, I got hugs for days. So welcome, Haywood. That's a hilarious comment, dude. So welcome to the show. Dude, I don't have a lot of time because I got to start cooking dinner for my lady. I want you to come back. I want to talk about triangles. I want to talk about physics. I want to talk about. I want you to give me next time you come on, not this Saturday, but next time you come on, man, I would love like a presentation from you, on one topic, because the thing about you is I could feel you're so loaded with information that you're literally bursting at the seams. And I feel like sometimes it's hard to keep you on one thing because you've got information firing in all of your neurons right now. And they're coming out, and I love it. I would love Jeremy to give me a presentation. You know what? Let's just do triangles next time you come.
So I want to talk triangles. About triangles. I just posted a new article in the news section on my website, alienscientist.com. For your fans can go there and check out my work. I have a new article up there on the TR-3B and some of my research into propulsion systems of flying triangles, the Aurora project, and all that stuff. What's your favorite data point or story or research that you've done into this triangle? What's the one thing if you can say, Lou, you need to look at this, that would be it? I mean, the key thing would be the GE research and that Wallace patents and that stuff, because that was the closest thing I could find in the history books to them actually researching the propulsion system of this rotating Mercury drive. Okay. That's probably the coolest thing that I found. Other than that, check out the there's a God, I have to put. I'm going to put more information on this thing because there's so much more I could say about this stuff. It goes.
Yeah. Well, I know.
The other one is the JP Aerospace. I'm going to put that at the bottom. You're right. I got to put this. JP Aerospace builds these giant blimps, and one of them's the size of the thing it's almost like the size of that Phoenix Lights thing, in the same shape.
Yeah.
If they had put lights on it, and I was like, man, if they got these giant like triangular blimps and stuff, those were pretty cool too. So
yeah.
But yeah, that would be it.
All right.
Definitely check out the article on that I'm posting on the website.
Well, dude, please, I want a triangle presentation from Jeremy Rys next time he comes on, if we can. That's all I want to focus on, would be that part.
All right, I'll put together I put together this whole page. I could put it into a presentation for you.
Yeah, that would be fun. And I'd love to just ask questions, dude, because I think it would be cool. So Jeremy, before we go, please tell the good people in the chat and following along where they can find your stuff and where they can interact with you.
So you can email me at thealienscientist@gmail.com. My YouTube channel's Alien Scientist. I'm going to post a little, there's my channel right there. You can click on my name.
Cool.
In the live chat. So you search for Alien Scientist, you'll find me. I also have altpropulsion.com. That's more the physics and the propulsion conference side of this. That's run by Tim Ventura of American Anti-Gravity. And definitely check out the work that we're doing with trying to get more disclosure of the science and the technology out.
Yeah.
And then I'm also Alien Underbar Scientist on Twitter, and I have a page on Facebook, and I'm trying to branch out to Odyssey and a couple of these other platforms. We'll see.
Right on. Cool. Well, yeah, I got your. I'm going to include as soon as the show's over, I'm going to include your Twitter handle and the website that you have connected to that, which is the hoverbrothers.com theory. And so you guys can go check out Jeremy's stuff, and yeah, man. So listen, I appreciate you coming aboard. I appreciate you getting weird with me. I appreciate you being vulnerable with me. I appreciate your honesty. I know there's a lot of things that you're holding back that you really want to say. So I appreciate your candor. Like your what's the word I'm looking for? Just your easiness to work with. You know, you've been a really cool dude to sort of talk to and shoot the shit with. So
you've been a great guest, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Talents, man. You're going places.
We'll see. You know, from your lips to God's ears. But I want to say thank you to everybody. Yes, even UAP Transparency now. I know he's been talking a lot of shit in the chat. I've seen it, and all I can say, my friend, is you know,
hey, come on my show. You're welcome. I hold live streams all the time, and I open it up to the Zoom call.
Well, there you go. You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to talk to Jeremy on his live stream. But all I will say is, let's judge people based off of the things they do today. You know, if they're selling us bullshit today, then let's call them on the bullshit. If they're selling us some good information, then let's listen to the information and go with it. We're not going to agree with everybody that comes on this show. We're not going to like everybody that comes on this show. Sorry, you know, like that's just the way it's going to be, man. I'm going to be interviewing people that you don't like. I'm going to be interviewing people that you love. I like
your approach, finding common ground, because there is even me and my arch enemy, Mr. Corbell, my other Jeremy namesake. We have some common ground if we're really trying to get information out of the government.
Let me ask you this, Jeremy. Can you please tell the people what that common ground is?
Disclosure, if we're really looking, that's what he's really after, and getting answers out of the government and getting information released to the public. If that's what he's after, then I'll support it. But if he's after fame and glory and just trying to be like the most well-liked guy and most recognizable face on the block, then
no. But see, no, I said commonalities, right? Commonalities. Stick to the commonalities, man. Come on, you're killing me. You know, no, you're not killing me. I thought that was great, dude. I thought this was fucking amazing. And
I'll debate him anytime, anywhere.
Hey, listen, dude, I'm sure he already knows that. I'm sure he knows that. You know, well, here's what I would say. I would love to get you guys. I'm sure it may or may not ever happen. Who knows? I like to be optimistic. I think if you guys got into a room privately and had a conversation like two grown men,
you should host it, Lewis.
I would. Well, look, if you guys want to do it publicly, that would be even better. But I think honestly, it would do a world of good if you guys did it privately. If you guys had that conversation privately, you worked out your differences privately, I think you'd find that he's a passionate dude that has a lot of the same interests and commonalities that you do, and he would probably admit the same thing about you. If that conversation ever went down. At this moment, I don't know if I would find those opinions from him, and you know, it was in some cases kind of pulling teeth from you. But I'm glad we got it. I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we found that common ground, and I'm glad we can move past this shit. You know, like let's come together and start pointing up instead of at each other, right? Like,
yeah, they want us fighting. They really want us fighting each other instead of fighting them. Let's fight the power.
Correct, man. I'm so happy.
Fight the power,
I'm
guys.
so happy you came by, and dude, yeah. I'm so happy to all the new people that you brought into the show. I think people were digging this comment, this content, and this interview. And dude, I'm excited for the future, and I hope you are too, man. And I want you along for this ride. And I promise you'll be back. And if you ever want me to come on your show, please, dude, I'd be more than happy to. I'm available almost all the time. But yeah, dude, again, appreciated, Jeremy. I'm glad you came. And just for the record, I'll never get you confused with science's religion again. I promise.
There's too many aliens, too many scientists, too many Jeremys, man.
Too many Jeremy scientists, aliens, acronyms. The list goes on and on. But before we go, I want to say thank you to Mikey, Busho Blade, Simon, all of you new guys.
Brian Kelly.
Here. Brian Kelly, thank you, dude. If you guys haven't subscribed, do so. Like the channel, hit that bell. That way you are reminded when we do the big phone home, when we do the things that we found the common ground on this Saturday, April 24th, 2021 at 10 a.m. Co-host Michael Mataluni and I will be calling Congress. We'll be talking to Lou Elizondo. We'll be talking to Jeremy Rys. We'll be talking to Jeremy Corbell, Jeremy McGowan. All the Jeremys are going to be there. We're going to be talking to, I can tell you this, Christina Gomez is going to be all over this show all day. She's going to be sort of our third unannounced co-host. So I'm really excited about that. We got a lot of fun things planned, and I'm just super excited for you guys to share this. I'm super excited to be done with this.
This is going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
Epic. It's like a lineup, man.
I want to be done with it. I want to be done and over, dude. I just want this to be over. I've been working so damn hard, and all of you have been working so damn hard out there, and I can't do this without all of you. All of you. UAP Transparency, I can't do this without you. Jeremy Rys, I can't do this without you. I can't do this without you guys. I need your help. I need your voices. I need your passions. It's time. It's time. This idea has come, and it's time to execute it. So until next time, you guys, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for getting weird with me. Sponsor BlueMarlinChronicles.com, purveyors of the world's finest fishing tackle. The band that provides all the music around here, DOS Tapes. Check out their SoundCloud link in the description below. Till next time, you guys, stay safe out there. Peace. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks.
Unidentified. Unidentified.